Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, outlined and talked about the decision it seems to delay or perhaps the inclusion of Google Maps in the iPhone for Apple, which is part of an ongoing battle where people are not so happy with the Apple version of their maps. Tell us what's going on, Kenneth.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, good morning. Well, it was a pretty interesting event that we had in Tokyo. Eric Schmidt was in town to launch a Nexus 7 tablet in Japan, but a lot of the interest was indeed on the Google Maps on iPhone issue. And he made it clear that the door is not 100% closed to this eventually happening, but at the moment there's no plans to really advance with taking the Google Maps stuff onto the iPhone. And indeed, he made the point that Apple itself has to actually approve Google Maps for the new iPhone, which they haven't done yet.
Right. Let's just take a quick look here. We have a still, I think, that gives us an idea of what people are up in arms about. There you have Google Maps. This is what obviously was the standard on a lot of iPhones until the new iPhone 5 came out. And it has all that detail. There is the Apple version. If you're trying to find your way around Martha's Vineyard, which we're looking at right now, you will have a lot harder time, it seems, than if you're following Google Maps. But Kenneth, what is the motive here? Because, of course, this is an important platform for Google, and to give up on it at this stage is giving up something, but they're gaining something in return, presumably in this big battle they have with Android. Explain that a little bit, please.
Well, the whole thing is becoming very complex because Google is now a hardware supplier itself. Apple, instead of just being a commercial partner, a customer, if you like, is now a rival as well to some extent. So, and also, I wouldn't say that Google has necessarily voluntarily given up on the idea of putting Google Maps onto the latest version of the iPhone. This was an Apple decision to try and go with their own version of it. So it may well be that we could at some point still see Google Maps coming back to Apple, but at the same time, a lot of stuff is still up in the air. And as you say, I mean, the actual mapping device, you try finding your way around Tokyo, it's confusing enough. But the Google Maps was a big tool for a lot of people, and a lot of people here are also kind of puzzled about how this whole thing came to be.
Yeah. So Eric Schmidt says he talks to Apple quite a lot about this issue. What are they working out?
Well, you see, that's the question that he was prepared to go so far on that and then no further, because obviously it's fairly commercially sensitive. And as you just mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of stuff at stake here in terms of the Google. I mean, YouTube is still on the iPhone, and that's a Google product. And as these two have to find a way of becoming both rivals and complementary suppliers of the hardware and software. I mean, it's very fascinating to see the way that they're going to try and figure this out. But who knows? I mean, we could still see the Google Maps coming back to the iPhone.
It's certainly a complicated situation. Is Apple now scrambling like mad to improve its mapping service?
I mean, that's the gist of what Eric Schmidt was saying yesterday. Obviously, he preferred to try and let Apple speak for themselves on it, but I mean, clearly they have a track record of delivering high-quality hardware that's very complementary with the software, and I think this would be considered a fairly big miss for them, a surprise for everybody, really. So I would imagine that they'd be working overtime to try and figure out whether they can really repair the damage that they've done with this mapping system, or indeed whether they might actually have to say, oh, look, okay, just give in on this, and maybe the Google Maps is the best way to go.
All right, Kenneth, thanks very much. That's Kenneth Maxwell, Wall Street Journal corporate news editor, speaking to us from Tokyo.